I'm excited today to have as my special guest Dr. Denise McDermott, who is a medical doctor. She's a podcast host. She's an award-winning podcast host. She's a producer, author, and paradigm progression pioneer. And we're going to find out all about Dr. Denise today. And I'm super excited to have her on the show. And Dr. Denise, welcome.
Thank you, Christine. And also, I just want to say thank you for all the love and incredible content that you've been putting out into the world. It's very inspiring, and I'm super happy to be here.
Yes, and I wanted to congratulate you on winning the People's Choice Award for your podcast for mental health series. And can
I
you,
was in the
yes,
finals for, I
yes.
want to clarify, I'm in the finals for the Skeptic's Guide to Science and Medicine in the top 10 in the world. And then I was Podcaster of the Month on the Blueberry platform. So I haven't won the number one spot, but I'm proud because I actually self-produce. I've decided not to take any sponsorship money, and it's all labor of love. I'm going to level up in production, but I feel like from doing media that the guests that we attract, the way we're creative, the way we're intuitive, and our intention sets the foundation to have such great discussions.
Yes, and you're up to vote, right? Isn't it? You're up for
Yeah, I'll
another.
send you the link
Yes.
just for the podcast finals. I feel like the real goal is trying to navigate, I think, in our current times, and maybe you can relate. People are having troubles like, who do we listen to? Who do we trust? Who has integrity? So I feel like the awards are great, but you really want to, when you're tuning into Christine, or if you're picking someone to listen to, you really want to say, hey, is this going to help me somehow?
Yes. And Dr. Denise, what was the inspiration behind the podcast?
So basically, it's really an extension of how I like to view mental health. And the big intention is to continue to change the way we think, talk, and act about mental health. And I've been doing this, almost 25 years. So mental health, mental wellness recently in the media has become sort of the sexy thing to talk about for the last 5 years. But this is something that's just a part of my uh, DNA from a scientific standpoint, spiritually, as a mother. And so, what really inspired me is taking my wisdom with humility and interviewing many different people, but really giving positive shots of psychology in the taglines, attracting the right guests, and also really bridging science, spirituality, academics, and also the spirit of play. I think it's so important whether or not you ever need to see a doctor for mental health, and we all want mental wellness, when we're in touch with that childlike spirit, we're usually the most creative, and when we're the most creative, we're usually the happiest. So I like to bridge my knowledge as an MD and bring it out into the media world. So that's what inspired me to change the way we think, talk, and act about mental health.
Yes, and even the colors. Did you come up with the colors for branding as well, Dr. Denise?
Oh gosh, there's so much more. Yeah. So first of all, with absolute gratitude, I want to give a shout out to Carolyn Honda. Carolyn's known me and my vision since 2015, and she's my graphic designer. And now that I think about it, I'd like to almost give you a prop. I don't have it right here, but my logo is DNA strands that are ocean colors, and it's the number 7, which kind of bridges the understanding of awareness. And they're in an ethereal pattern that shows that represents that our thoughts, words, and actions influence our material DNA. So the branding is very strategic. It's the colors I love. I'm fortunate to have an ocean view office. You can see the colors in the background here. And so I think when you're branding, it really needs to be an essence of your mind, your heart. And I just feel like the Carolyn gets me. I can give her a concept or an idea because I have different show series, but
Mhm.
just DNA strands and what it represents and the way they're ethereal really captures the unseen quantum energy that influences our material DNA. So I'm very grounded in scientific method. I have 50,000 hours of patient care. I work with all ages. I'm also, with humility, I'm an adoptive mother. And I feel like my own son is my biggest teacher. So I just want to keep it real that I'm kind of in it with all of you, trying to do my best job as a mom and enjoy being here on earth. Because sometimes it can be a bit stressful. There's been a lot going on for humanity in the last 5 years. Understatement.
Yes, and you are a role model, you are an inspiration to many, but can you share with our audience like any feedback you'd like to share, like from others who have listened to your podcast?
Yes, I think one of the most inspiring things is the Embrace Your Neurostyle and Beyond series. And what the feedback I've gotten many times, which actually inspired me to turn it into a series and really elevate and celebrate the power of words. The feedback that I got about embracing your neurostyle, and I define neurostyle as we all process and perceive information in our own unique way, and that's the fabulous with the fabulous five: biological, psychological, social, cultural, spiritual, coupled with sixth sense intuition. So the Embrace Your Neurostyle and Beyond invites everyone to stay in that place of openness, curiosity, scientific method, being open to all ways of well-being. And when you say the word neurostyle, whether or not you've had anxiety or depression, or a family member has, or substance abuse or bipolar, or you've never had a diagnosis and you're just grieving, or you might be shy, or you might be an extrovert, neurostyle sounds like we all have a style. So it's very hopeful. And it's the truth. And all sentient beings in the universe have a different type of sensory perception. So the feedback I've got has been a lot with humility. I had someone that told me when he heard the word neurostyle, he was the first person that I interviewed on that series after another series I produced on the Ascension series. Kirkpatrick Miller, who is an award-winning author, violinist, mental health advocate, and he has his own book, Chaos to Cured. The minute he heard neurostyle, it triggered for him, and I met him in 2016, a new way of not just thinking of himself as a series of diagnoses. He's not my patient, but he and I established a friendship, and he's been on my show. And he said, Denise, that was a game changer. I
Wow.
started acknowledging, yes, I might have OCD, or I might have depression, or I might have been suicidal or ADD, but I'm brilliant. And I can work with my doctor and have a scientific understanding. We're not afraid of the viewpoints of Western medicine, but I like to practice what I call universe medicine and use terms that allow all the ways to heal. So, from a vibrational standpoint, Kirk gave me feedback that was so heartwarming. He's like, Denise, I'm not even kidding you. It's changed my life. And then I had Beth Frades, Dr. Beth Frades from Harvard, said you really need to copyright or trademark that. Then when I was just at an interview in India, I was representing the United States at the Dalai Lama's Body, Mind, Life conference, and I more formally elevated the discussion of neurostyle there. I got a thumbs up from the Dalai Lama's doctor. And then, kind of with humility, after 4 or 5 years, last year when I did so many shows and did the Embrace Your Neurostyle and Beyond series, I went ahead and now I have trademarks for that. So I feel like because I am an MD, I am an adult and child psychiatrist, and I have the credential, the humility of 50,000 hours of patient care, and I'm also a mom. I thought, let's level this up and really celebrate the words and really give it the dignity. And I've gotten feedback so many times that everyone's like, you've got to do this. So it's such a labor of love, though, when you figure out a way to talk with people, whether it's in my office or on my shows or in conversation. Like someone said to me, well, my neurostyle doesn't do freeways. And I'm like, yes, you got it. Like, so neurostyle is very interchangeable. Like, let's say someone's about to go on a date and they want to be at their best form for their first date, but they like quieter environments. You could front load with, well, my neurostyle, or, with you with fitness. My neurostyle wants to, for me, if I don't get my swim in, I told my mom I've got to swim today because I took a day or two off with all this stuff this weekend. And so my neurostyle needs protein, or I need to get to the pool or get the run. So neurostyles can be academic, but it's really a way for someone to really have a self-awareness and look at their neurostyle, their sensory perception, their multidimensionality, and keep it open and curious. I'm not against, I am an MD, so I do, when people come to me in this office setting, and they want to walk out with, do I have ADHD? Do I have depression? But I look at them as their name. I look at them as this holistic human, this soul. I invite them, even if that's something that you have to put on the insurance form to get the right treatment, if the tool in the toolbox is meds or not meds. I'm not against the idea of Western medicine. I just take it further because I know that we're all human and we want to have the best mental wellness and health.
Dr. Denise, I coined it. Am I correct?
Correct. Well, there's actually, just to be funny, there is a curling iron called something with Neurostyle with Paul Mitchell that came out after I started using it as a doctor. But I have the trademarks. I have the intellectual property of Embrace Your Neurostyle and Beyond as a concept. And I have so many shows on it. I've used it in my book, Mental Health and How to Thrive. So it's going to be good. If we ever need to have a sit down with Paul Mitchell, we even talked about that in a show. I'm just being playful. But yes, this concept and really discussing it, but inviting others to look at it as their own. I mean, we're here on earth. You have your neurostyle, I have mine. I just wanted to be respectful. When people started telling me you need to trademark it, it's because I had people just giving my own word back to me that don't even have an MD or anything, any of the knowledge, and they wanted to go run with the term like they're so cool. I'm like, no, I don't think so. That's like disrespectful when you're trying to make a difference in the world. Because I can easily right now, I'm very blessed, never do a podcast again, never make a difference with the 8,100,000 and just kind of continue to be a mother, a doctor. But when you're making change in the world, you have to be profound. You have to stick with your gumption. You have to attract integrity. You need to pick really careful words. So now I'm embracing my neurostyle by pushing the envelope with it and feeling very humbled to have discussions with people like yourself, because I feel like your show, what you do with your knowledge with fitness, journalism, broadcast journalism, the way you do events, you're very fully integrated. And I think it's a real honor to have these discussions about new words, thoughts, and actions that can help people light themselves up.
Dr. Denise, it's so inspirational to have you on the show. And I understand, like, there's a fabulous five, and I love your podcast. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, embrace your neurostyle and beyond. But it has biologically, socially, perhaps you can energetic, culturally, spiritually. Could you elaborate on these fabulous five, Dr. Denise?
Sure. I mean, biological, let's just say if you're going in to see your doctor and you might have symptoms of anxiety or depression, there's lab work that you need to do. Like you would check your thyroid, you would make sure there's not another autoimmune issue. So the biology is more the hard science of when you come to see an adult and child psychiatrist. I'm an MD. So the biological part is what's our DNA? What's our biology? And so that influences our mood state, our sensory perception. Psychologically, you could be going through a life transition. You could be starting a new school, a new job, going through a breakup, a grief, something like that. Social, what's your social life? What's your neurostyle? Are you in a sensory perception way more shy? Do you thrive in bigger groups? Do you stay away from loud noises? Biological, psychological, social, cultural. We have to have cultural awareness. And also, I think, age awareness. There's different generational overlays. I know when I travel to India or I've traveled to different countries, you have to be culturally aware of what's the appropriate outfit to wear, even language, the way you present yourself, eye contact, namaste. There's different cultural awareness. Um, and then spiritual, people define that. I feel like your own spirituality is how you show up in the most authentic way. And then intuition is the unseen energy that's basically, I like the unseen energy where you're bridging. For me, it's very scientific still. And all of it is because it's the unseen energy and the quantum influence of the vibrational frequency of all these different factors, your material DNA, the unseen energy of how it
Mhm.
influences. So we've got the older, like Newtonian view of physics, and we've got quantum. And the reason why I use the word paradigm progression, it was like nails on the chalkboard for me when I kept hearing paradigm shift. It sounded so flat and so divisive because to me, we have to have different times in history, different bodies of work, different knowledge. So it's really a progression. So we honor all knowledge, it's all inclusive. Paradigm progression is that you're having humility of other bodies of work, other knowledge states. Shift can sound a little bit like, oh, that was wrong, this is right. And I think the world right now, a lot of humanity, unfortunately, is vibrating at a real I'm right, you're wrong, this political party, the vaxxers, the non vaxxers. Like, so I like to invite people to respect the 8,100,000 people are on the planet. And if you look at us as like these little miracle bundles of different neurostyles, sensory perception, and you don't just show up with your viewpoint without pausing and realizing someone else has another viewpoint. So neurostyle goes beyond anything that I do as an adult and child psychiatrist. It's literally a peaceful humanitarian term. If another being, the and beyond, which I do know in my understanding of the universe, I've trained in remote viewing, I'm very blessed with intuition, I take scientific method. My definitions that I use are universal truths. They're used for any sentient being in the universe. And I wrote a spiritual mission statement August 18th, 2015, called Love All Kind. And I did a big shout out. If you want to call it an intention, a vision, a business plan, it was about literally saying that I'm here to help facilitate people to find their maximum best health and loving all kind. And that was all race, gender, sexuality, all beings. So the neurostyle definition tags nicely with the concept of being open and aware to sensory perception. Animals have perception, sentient beings do. We now know that there's a lot of data that the different plants and animals communicate with one another, trees do. So the neurostyle is literally beyond, the beyond parts beyond just what the human mind can imagine.
Dr. Denise, how do we embrace our neurostyle?
Okay, so first of all, I think no matter what age we are, embracing our neurostyle is all about having our own unique awareness of our feeling stage, but we have to start with a place of self love. So embracing your neurostyle, the neuro's fun. It's, I'm an MD, I'm a doctor, but when I work with all ages, and when you work with like a little kid, you're trying to teach them to be happy. You really, whatever age you are, embracing your neurostyle comes from a place of humility. And I think sometimes people have these inner dialogues with themselves. We're here now. And if you imagine a cartoon bubble coming out of each of our mouths, it's really the dialogue we have with ourselves. So when we start realizing that we have an awareness of our feeling state, and the way we can embrace our neurostyle is being our own best friend. So if you imagine that you're here and then you have a cartoon bubble coming out, and what are you telling yourself? I know sometimes I work with people who have focus issues, and maybe they've been telling themselves, I'm stupid. I don't know how to do this. I'm not smart enough. Or we live in a world where there's a lot of judgment based on appearance. There's ageism. There's bias. So when we're embracing our own unique DNA, our own unique look, our own unique biology, psychology, social, cultural, spiritual, and intuition, we really have to start with an awareness of our own perception. Am I hungry? Am I nice? Am I kind? And then what's the dialogue we say to ourselves? So a lot of times when people come to see me from the doctor perspective, they might have anxiety, they might have focus issues, people might be struggling with addiction or grief. So I take the history, whether it's an adult, it's usually an hour to 90 minutes. For children, I meet with their parents and them separately. And so part of the embracing your neurostyle when I see people in the doctor hat is getting an understanding of what's going on in their inner world. So if you don't need to see a doctor and you just want to embrace your own neurostyle, I feel like you need to really sign up and ask yourself to be your own best friend. You need to pay attention to your thoughts. You need to pay attention to your habits. I find I even have like a little note card here. I didn't think I was going to be writing anything down, but I think when we know our own neurostyle, like I like to have a candle when I'm about to do an interview. I like to have paper. So that makes me feel very civilized. So whatever age you're at, like you want to also show up a place of like inner peace. You want to make sure you've had a good meal. You want to make sure you've done your fitness. So embracing your neurostyle is all of your health, all of your well-being.
Yes. And you love swimming, Dr. Denise. And can you tell us about your fitness regime?
Oh my gosh. Right when you say swimming, if I could, and maybe someday it will happen, that you and I do a show where you're running and I'm in the pool. Okay. So for me,
Yes.
swimming from a sensory perception, it hits all the marks. I'm outside in nature. I like to look up at the trees. I actually do a shout out on my mind to either gratitude. I'm a very grateful person. That's like its own topic. But part of the swimming routine is when I enter the area, I like look at the trees. I'm so happy. I'm like so grateful. I get in the water, and it's not only the fitness and getting in that moving meditation state, but it's usually my time of greatest creativity where ideas drop in. I also send people love. I use the pool, I call it the laps of love. And I tell people when I'm in the pool, I send you love. And then it's also my gift to myself. It's not just fitness. When we're in water, we're cleansing, everything's energy. So I'm usually in the pool 6 to 7 days a week. Sometimes when my son wanted more of my
Nice.
attention, well, I do sometimes really, I do different types of workouts. Sometimes I'm there to do a freestyle and breaststroke. Other times when my son wanted to talk with me a lot and I was doing time management, I got these water weights and I would walk and talk with him because I wanted to still be in the pool, but sometimes you have to do modified workouts. So I've learned how to just adapt. And I think whether it's running or walking or swimming, sometimes you can get these little short bursts and they still serve a big purpose for your own mental health, your own inner peace, your own fitness, your own intuition and creativity.
Yeah. So you've always loved to swim since you were little, Dr. Denise?
Well, I was a lifeguard. I grew up in the Midwest, and I was very fortunate that they had
Oh,
this incredible pool in Schaumburg, Illinois. And ever since age 5, they had these little swim lessons where you get your patches, beginners, intermediate. And then I used to think the lifeguards were so cool. And then I became a lifeguard. I became a coach. I coached swim team. Then I managed an Olympic sized pool. So when I was in undergraduate and medical school, I was very fortunate to kind of live the dream of taking your little cute 5-year-old self of happiness with being in the pool to ending up being a pool manager. So it became like a really happy part of my childhood. So when I'm in the pool, I access
yes.
my little kid energy too.
Yes, it's your happy place, like running is mine, it's just so wonderful to hear you talk about, you get your your energy and your thoughts and gratitude. You mentioned gratitude, and I understand gratitude is my secret sauce. I love that.
I say that, oh my gosh, it so is. Because I was even thinking just here, I'm like, oh, everything's in divine time. Today is the day I get to have more talks with Christine. So all throughout my day, it's just part of my golden thread. And for all of us, we know that if we start our day, we can right away when we wake up, sometimes if the alarm goes off, we could start with thoughts that come in like, oh my goodness, I've got this, I've got that. But if you want to hit reset and start your day with gratitude, it's a vibrational frequency that helps us when we have stress or things don't go our way. It helps us to be more in the moment. And then I would say in between patients, and then sometimes I might have a patient and I might have a show or I might have another creative thing I'm doing. So I like to look at my day as like sacred stages. So with my patient's notes or when I take my son and drop him off, I try to practice gratitude, but then ground myself because it's easy as a human being to think of the past or think of the future. So for me, the gratitude is a secret sauce because it also helps to stay more in this moment.
Yes, and it's like first thing in the morning. And what about at night? Before bed, like, uh, would that be a good thing too?
Yeah,
Like,
I think gratitude's all day long, but let me give you some tangible examples. So just like when someone is really good at basketball and maybe they're about to shoot their free throw and they might bounce it 5 times, I think if you come up with your own unique gratitude ritual that honors your neurostyle, it could be devoting a run to something you're grateful for. It can be a swim. Before bed, you asked. A lot of times people, depends on what kind of a sleeper you are, but if you have a lot of thoughts still going, like racing thoughts, and you want to kind of calm your mind, you can have a ritual of being thankful, like if you're blessed to have food, shelter, clothing, or sense of purpose, really simple gratitudes. But then if you're wanting to have gratitude, but then also sleep well, and you're having like anxious thoughts coming in, you can be grateful, say a gratitude statement, then imagine each thought or problem or thing you want to do the next day, put it in like a one-line statement as if it's already been taken care of. So an I am manifestation, I am going to do this tomorrow. I will attract this. So you can turn a worry thought into an empowerment manifest. Do the one thought, then wrap it around if you want to make it a cloud, a golden bubble. You can imagine it going up into the sky and giving it up and surrender. So then you said, now I want to sleep well. And in our dream state, we can process and start to solve some of our own problems. So you can do gratitude plus manifestation and do it your way, not my way. I always tell everyone that we're our own best healers, we're our own best friends. You pick people to go to. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a doctor, maybe it's a spiritual leader, maybe it's your parent, maybe it's your pet, maybe you're talking to your little kitty or something, or your dog. I always empower people to figure out their gratitude method and that they have the power all within. Don't give away your power to someone else either.
I love that. Such great information. And I'm sure listeners and watchers are going to be like, oh, wow, I have to start this. And Dr. Denise, what is next for you? I mean, we didn't talk about your medical background at the beginning, but did you want to share how you started?
Being a physician?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I feel very fortunate that when I was 5 years old, I already thought, oh, I want to be a doctor. But then I did everything else to challenge it. Like I volunteered, I did PhDs, I did stuff with molecular biology. So I was really fortunate to kind of know. I did my undergraduate in biology. I did my adult psychiatry at Emory University, did my child psychiatry at UCLA. I was the only one from out of state to get into the UCLA program. I didn't know anyone, so I really earned that position. And then I'm here in Manhattan Beach in Los Angeles. I've been in private practice ever since. And I've always practiced wellness, psychiatry, thrive medicine. I have been what I would call a paradigm progression pioneer because I never signed up for managed care. I don't take insurance. I've never taken pharmaceutical money. I don't take sponsorship money yet. I wanted to use scientific method, be of service, use my Western medicine and then all my wellness and become the best doctor I could, the best mother, and then package my knowledge and wisdom into shows and ideas. And, when you're interviewing patients for 50,000 hours, I'm a natural blessed interviewer, but you're also can be very intuitive. And if you're practicing your own gratitude or your swim or your running, whatever next step for you professionally, whether you decide to do a show, my next step is I'm in it now. I'm doing the Dr. Denise show. I've been doing more audio. I'm going to start doing more filming and stuff. But the most important thing right now was that my son, who I adopted at birth, he had neurostyle challenges when he was little. And now he's reached an all-time neurostyle success.
Mm.
He's at the right school. He's volunteering this summer. He's into his physical fitness. He's a strong leader. So now that I know my son's really thriving, the growth of everything I've done with the Dr. Denise show, all the trademarks, I have trademarks now in the show itself, Embrace Your Neurostyle and Beyond, On Staying Sane, Rocking a Betrayal. Last year I did 127 shows, self-produced, self-hosted, self-edited and self-written. I manage all my own social media. And I really find that the sacredness of doing it myself will now allow, I've got incubator teams. I've got a song that's Love Your Neurostyle that was co-written with Beverly Bergman and Emily Eddins. It's a multi-generational trio. And we just finished our first draft of our Ascension Experience book that goes with the song, because I wanted to, as a child psychiatrist, develop something that encourages loving your neurostyle and that then I can build and scaffold with different incubator teams. I've attracted some of the brightest human beings on the planet on my show. And sometimes I do longer shows because I want them to know how much I care about them.
Yes.
I think society is really hurting now. You don't have to see a psychiatrist to know that people are lonely. They have more ways of reaching out each other on social media, but they don't know how to really care, hold the sacred space. You can have all these likes and be this influencer, but be miserable.
Mm.
So I am so blessed. I'm actually even grateful that Rocking a Betrayal series is something where I experienced fraud in doing my brand. And it taught me so much about greed and people preying on one another. So I'm not going to use profanity on your show, but I'm literally a warrior. No one will ever steal from me again. No one will ever take my try to do anything. So what's next for me is more of what I'm doing, staying grounded, swimming, only working with people with integrity. I have a sticker called in for in integrity. I've got merchandise that have made, but I'm not putting it out on a store yet because it's so sacred. The people that are taking my designs all either have autism or Down syndrome. I'm having a company that's going to help employ people with neurodevelopmental disabilities. And I want to enjoy the process of doing it right, making the next steps right so I'm the best mom, and then I pay attention to my intuition and I enjoy the process. That's what's going on.
Yes, it's wonderful. I mean, intuition, you just said, you're just beyond amazing, Dr. Denise. And I want you to come back on the show because there's just so much more we can talk about, if I may say. But before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that I really want to, this is what I call an infinity loop of gratitude back to you. I've been paying attention to your passion, the way you use your gifts, the way you use moving meditation, running, teaching, going to events. And it's so wonderful to just be on your show. But I just wanted to add thank you for all you're doing, and any other way that I can promote anything you're doing or your guests are doing, or ways we can help each other, inspire each other. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you. And is there a website, social media handles you'd like to?
Yeah, I'm on at Dr. Denise MD on Facebook, Instagram. The Dr. Denise Show is an audio podcast. I'm going to be starting video. It's on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple. I also have a library of shows to make it very easy on ascensionmedia.love. And that's it. And I'm also in Manhattan Beach, DrDeniseMD.com. And if you are in California, now that the pandemic's further along, I'm definitely seeing patients in person. Before, there's lots of telehealth. And what's more to come is I'll probably start having some subscriptions, but I just want to do one thing at a time. So I hope I get to do more shows with you, and I'm hoping I get to meet you at some point in person.
You will, Dr. Denise, and for sure you're going to come back on the show. Just enjoyed our time together today, and it was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.